All right, here's what we're doing. We're going to be reviewing fountain pens from an artist's point of view. A lot of them are reviewing it from a writer's point of view. I'm going to review them from artist's point of view. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to make this quick and short. I got a TESBI, a Lamy Safari, a Pilot penmanship, a Pilot kakuno, both two sizes. I got an Ackerman pen that is great when it works, but doesn't work a lot. And finally, my favorite, a bluedew Flex pen. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be drawing the same thing with different pens and see how differently they turn out. And you can see for yourself which one you like better. I'm going to give you my opinions, but I'll be curious to know what you think works for you. So let's cut to the chase. Let's get to it. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get to the art making. All right, let's get into our demonstration. So the first one I'm gonna be using is the Pilot Kakuno Extra Fine. It's one of my favorites of all time. So let's just look into, as an artist, what I am looking for is something extremely delicate. I'm drawing very small. A lot of times my head are very tiny and very small. So I want to demonstrate that. I want to be able to get broad strokes, and I want to be able to hone in on small details and do a lot of cross hatching without the lines being lost. I want the beauty of the lines to kind of be available for me. So as a writer, I can see how you probably don't care about that. That's why writers have different opinions of fountain pens in general, and they want different things. So I want to be able to come here and do these intricate little crisscrossy lines of the beard, for example. And I want to be able to cover a large area. Now, if you're doing a big portrait, I can see how an extra fine would not be that appealing. But we're not. Like, when you're drawing comics or you're doing fine illustration, how big are your faces really? Not that big. You want to cover big areas, so ideally you want to have some flexibility, and this pen is not flexible. It has some line variations. It's not like a technical pen or a micron pen, but I mean, it is a fountain pen. But see, I need to be able to do this. I need to be able to tone the face down and not lose the details underneath. I need to be able to tone this beard down if I want to. I need to be able to separate this cloth and turban from, and I want to be able to do that quickly. You know, I want to be able to come in and do a lot of these kind of cross-contoury strokes. You know, I want the lines to mean something. And when I cross-hatch, I don't want the contrast to be that different, you know? I want to be able to do some of this. And this works great for me. So again, this is Pilot Kakuno Extra Fine. All right. Now, a good thing to consider is that pilots, I mean, nib sizes are not all universal. An extra fine Japanese nib is not an extra fine German or Western nib. This is a Lamy Safari, extra fine too, but that's going to be a little bigger. I'm using the same ink here, but see, I can already see the line is so much thicker already. It's laying down the ink super wet, and already my control is not as good. The paper is also soaking in. a lot more and it's getting wetter. Now that doesn't mean this pen is bad. It just means you gotta understand what each pen does well and use that to their advantage. Now, if I have a rougher, more absorbent paper, I might use this. If I'm doing a close-up where I don't need that much of fine details, again, I might use this. See, the good thing is that we finished faster. It still works. It's not bad. And it's not as scratchier. And it might be something that, you know, based on the kind of art that you're making or the story that you're making and how small a size you're working with, this might be a good choice for you. And it's a lot smoother. I mean, it glides on the paper a lot better. And see, it didn't take us as much time. Now, I've also drawn this before once already, so I am going to get progressively faster each time we do it. So Lamy, Safari, extra fine. Did I do EE here? Extra fine. Okay. All right, let's try TESBI. TESBI is great. It has a piston. You can fill the ink. You can see how much ink you got. You don't need converters or anything, and they're just great. Again, this is not a Japanese pen. So even though it's extra fine, the nib is going to be almost like the Safari extra fine. But again, this is a lot wetter. My control here is similar to the Safari a little bit. I'm getting a little impatient with my, so I'm going to try to slow down. I'm just trying to be mindful not to make this video last forever. But also ran out of space here, so forgive me. I'm trying to make sure that we don't completely run out of space. I don't think you were able to see. Hopefully you guys can see that now. I didn't realize I pushed this up. Anyway, details can still show, not as good this. If I want to get really small, I won't be able to unless I'm very, very delicate here. But it still works. It works fine. This is TESBI extra fine. Okay. Now let's try the Pilot Kakuno. The same first one we started with, but it's a fine nib this time. Now, because this is Japanese, the Japanese fine is almost equivalent to the European extra fine, even though... Now, I'm going to just focus on the headpiece here. I don't want to keep doing this turban every time. Again, I use these kakunos a lot, and these are like $12. If you find them on Amazon, they're not that expensive. And they work great, honestly. And they have little smiley faces or winky faces. They're just fun. I think they were marketed for kids in the beginning. So yeah, they're fun. They work well. But as you see, this is kakuno fine. Now, with all these that I've showed you already, no line variation. And by that, I mean I want the line to go from thick to thin. You don't see that here. Hardly any. And that's not ideal for me. I want to be able to make a big stroke if I need to. Now, this is how we get to Ackerman's pens. Now, these pens, they're designed for sketch artists. Their idea is they put dip pen nibs into pens, but that doesn't work well all the time. This nib, it's the Gillette 303, is one of my favorite nibs of all time. It's the best thing I like to draw with. And Ackerman on their website, they have a Gillette 303 pen. So I decided to try it. This doesn't work all the time. When it works, it's fantastic. When it doesn't, it's awful. So you have to almost like work with this to make it work. When I say it doesn't work, I'm saying the ink runs out a lot or it dries out and you have to shake it. Now I'm going to try to draw, see? Gone. Now I have to shake this, or they have a pump pen here. There's a little pump I can pump, try to get the ink out. Now you can just dip this, but that defeats the entire purpose of it being a flex. See, now it's working. So let me do this a little bit bigger because I want you to see the fine details. Now look at the line variation in this. Look. Again, see, it stopped working. See, this is my issue with this pen. Is that when see now the line variation, it goes thin to thick. See how great that is? See, when it works, it's working fantastic. It's amazing because the nib is great. But the pen itself is a pain in the ass. See how fine a line it produces when it wants to? And then I can come here and do a big line for the beard. But you see how long it took us to get a running start? And it dries. It dries out a lot, or the flow. Listen, the ink doesn't dry, but the flow of the ink stops. And you have to kind of, almost like an old car, jump start it every now and then. Now, see now the flow stopped again. This is my issue with this pen. It's my favorite nib, not my favorite pen. Because I have to, and sometimes when I shake it, a big blob of ink comes up and ruins the entire drawing. But as you can see, when it works, the line variation is great and it's awesome. And if I wasn't too lazy to dip my pen, see, I can get more expressive, and now I'm just having fun. Again, it stopped. The flow went away. It's killing me. This thing is killing me. There we go. It's Ackerman. Ackerman pens, and again, hey, they're great when they work. I'm gonna try to do another drawing here just for demonstration. It's a fantastic nib. And if you don't want to risk it and like spend $25-$30 on this pen for it to sometimes work and sometimes doesn't, and you have to like clean it a bunch of times when you first get it and play around a lot until it starts working, you can just buy the Gillette nib itself and just dip it. Dip it in an ink and it works just as much. It's just that you have to dip every once in a while because it runs out of ink. Not unlike this pen. So there you go. When it works, it's great. When it doesn't, it's awful. And it makes you very, very frustrated. Lastly, it's one of my new favorite discoveries of all time. Well, before we do that, lastly, this is the Pilot penmanship. It almost has the same nib as the Kakuno. Again, no line variation, but it's extra fine in a Japanese sense, and it's great. I just love this thing. I use it a lot. But let me show you my favorite one. It's a bluedew pen. This is designed from the ground up to perform like a dip nib. And it produces line weights, line variation. So look at that. It's a little dry right now, so let me just get it started. See, this is the problem with a lot of these. I think it ran out of ink, so give me a second. Let me just fill this up. All right, I think I got this started. So let's try the bluedew fountain pen. Now, bluedew is great, and I'm going to show you its capabilities of flexing here in a second, but it has the capacity to go super thin, almost like a Japanese extra fine, but I also can do these big lines. You see those big lines? Now, the only downfall to this pen is that it doesn't work well on elevated surfaces because the pen has to be pointed down almost for it to work super well. And if you want to see more demonstration of it, you can look at my shorts or my Instagram stories, and I have a little, but you see how I kind of can stretch it here? And look at the thin lines. Look at the difference between this line and this line that I just put for the turban, right? This has quickly become one of my favorite pens to work with. And again, because we're on an elevator, this is not a good demonstration of it, unfortunately. But there you go. I mean, you're seeing this in real time. Here's some of the pros and cons of each one. So there we go. So this is now becoming just like the Ackerman thing. So if I can get this fired up here in a second, you'll probably see a better demonstration of it. So right now it's looking very scratchy, like you're hearing. But there we go. Now let's try one more thing here, since we are talking fountain pens and calligraphy pens. Let's actually use an inkwell and dip this nib and see how that performs. The Gillette, again, is one of my favorite nibs. Let's see how long this lasts before we have to dip again. Honestly, nothing can beat this experience. It's so simple. The setup is very cheap. You don't have to be paying a lot of money for this. This is very, very simple and easy. It's worked for generations and generations. You know, whether you pick up a crow quill, a zebra brush, a zebra G-nib. Look how great this works. Or these Gillette pens. See, we just ran out of ink and I have to dip again, but we almost did a whole face. And look at that. Effortless line variation. It's fantastic. It's just a great fun. But it's not super practical for on-the-go stuff because you are having to make sure that you cover this so the nib doesn't get hurt, and you have to carry a bottle of ink around with you. So it's not the greatest option for travel. And unfortunately, no one has figured out how to seamlessly give us a pen that would perform in the same way. So I hope this was a comprehensive, good view of how this kind of thing works. So frustrating, see? Having said that, this remains to be my favorite. I'm not sure why it's not working right now. But I hope this was a good, clear demonstration. I hope that you got some value out of it. Please let me know if you want. I can review some brushes. Now there is a pen that I haven't reviewed here, which is the Pilot Falcon, the famous Pilot Falcon. I would like to review it. I would like to try it, but it's expensive and I'm not going to buy it right now. This was not sponsored by anybody in any kind of way. These are pens that I actually bought myself and used. And the proof of that is that if I was sponsored, I would have, hey, I wish I was sponsored. Hey, if you're hearing this, Pilot, send me a Pilot Falcon. I want to try it out. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful. Here's a closer look at everything we've done. Let me know if this was helpful. Thank you.